Welcome everybody to I'll Be Right Back, the show where we take a look at a horror movie. And sorry Peter, before we start, do you know what time it is?
No.
It's terror time again. Because we're here watching Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, a movie that absolutely formulated my childhood, man. Started a whole obsession with this franchise. Absolutely adore this movie. I've never been as nostalgic about watching something, I think, in my entire life.
Oh dear, this is going to be a tough show, then, isn't it?
I don't believe you.
I thought this. How can I break your little?
Don't you dare.
Heart? I thought this was good. Do not get us wrong. This is a good movie. I like the soundtrack. It's an entertaining Scooby-Doo cartoon, but I'm afraid that's about as far as it goes for me. To call this a horror or to call this a kind of a great movie, I'll never watch this again, put it that way. But James, because you're crying on screen, please don't sob. I can see why, as a Scooby-Doo fan, you love this. I can see why this is regarded as one of the best Scooby-Doos, but it's still... If you were to put this and, say, the live-action one with Sarah Michelle Gellar, if you were to put this and that side by side, I would choose Sarah Michelle Gellar, naturally. Every time over this, I'm afraid to say.
I think it's interesting. I was worried what you'd feel, and I'm happy you don't hate it. You've been saying you hate it over the last couple of days, but I just didn't believe you.
Oh, no, I don't hate it. I used to watch Scooby-Doo after my tea at school. Do you know what I mean? It's like eating your tea on your knee TV. This was a bit elevated to that, but it's still a Scooby-Doo cartoon for me. I can't get overly excited about it.
That's fair, but I think, in terms of the live action film, there's so much of that movie that I think pulls from this. The gang is kind of sick of doing mysteries together. They break up, they come back on the spooky island. There's a lot of elements that kind of carry over to that.
Absolutely. It certainly felt, compared to the Scooby-Doo I've watched as a cartoon, it felt like a more adult version. I liked the fact that they're actually bothered to flesh out the characters and things like that. It's still not really answered my question about, because I thought at the start when it said that Daphne and Fred had gone off on their own, I've always just assumed they were a couple. But then in this, they're kind of all over everybody else.
Prior to this, there had never really been a direct romantic link between Fred and Daphne. It's just sort of a fan kind of theory. They're always the ones that pair off together, and they just seem naturally to go together. So this was the first thing to indicate that they have a romantic interest in each other at all. And I think it wasn't until the live action movie that they actually on screen kissed. I remember watching this when I was very young. Me and my sister were watching The Swan Princess on VHS, and at the start of videos they had the trailers, and this came on and I was like, oh my god, what is this? This is the best looking thing ever. And we brought back the video to the rental store, got this, and I just absolutely fell in love, obsessed. I liked horror stuff when I was a kid, but I was too scared to watch it. So this was the perfect thing for me. Like, it was spooky, it's funny, it's zany, and I just become absolutely obsessed with the franchise after that. I had my room painted like the Mystery Machine. Fell head over heels, So a little bit of background about this movie. Scooby-Doo was sort of on the decline at this point, so Scrappy-Doo era kind of just finished. Pup Named Scooby-Doo was off the air, which has its fans, but wasn't ratings wise super popular.
I don't think I ever saw a pup called Scooby-Doo, but certainly the ones with Scrappy-Doo, that was my era of Scooby-Doo.
Scrappy-Doo was sort of late 70s or throughout the 80s. A Pup Named Scooby-Doo ended in 1991. Turner Broadcasting purchased Hanna-Barbera that year, and they began airing reruns of the series on Cartoon Network, which was created in 1992. In 1996, Time Warner and Turner Broadcasting merged, and Hanna-Barbera was tasked with developing projects based on the studio's properties, with Warner Brothers executives suggesting a direct-to-video movie based on Scooby-Doo, considering its popularity on Cartoon Network. So that's how this kind of came about. I love how dark this gets. This was back when kids' cartoon movies had balls. There's a flashback of people getting eaten by alligators. There's references to the Confederacy and to slavery and plantations and stuff.
I have to say, that scene did throw me, the bit where you literally see them devoured by gators. I thought, wow, this has gone quite dark. And I guess one of the other things I would say, James, is there is no denying this is looking very, very smart. Do you know what I mean? There are scenes in this that remind us of traditional Scooby-Doo, and then all of a sudden you get this kind of high-octane adventure scene, and the zombies, for example, look spot on. I was impressed with the art.
Yeah, it's a clever, I think, take on the franchise. We've had, previously there was 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, stuff like that. So, real monsters wasn't a new concept in Scooby-Doo. But to say, okay, let's take that original series and say what happened after that. The gang have been doing this for a long time, kind of grow sick of it. And then to have, how would these characters react to one of their mysteries just actually turns out to be real. And I just thought that was really clever, and the movie does that so well, In the original series, most of the time, it's just like a fraudster committing some kind of fraud or stealing something. They're just trying to scare them away. But in this, they're actually in danger. They're actually on the verge of dying for half of this movie, and I really love that, the sense of peril.
Did you... I didn't feel a sense of like they were going to die at any point.
The werecats are actually trying to kill them in this.
Rather than just running up and down a corridor.
They're not trying to scare them away. Mystery Inc. might die in this movie. Like,
the music was banging, mind. I thought some of the songs in it were
so many great montages, man. Like, yeah, the ghost is here. It's a freak in a suit. You know, like it's.
I think you need to stop doing that.
I've had those songs stuck in my head for years. Like they're on my Spotify playlist. Like I absolutely love them. But Terror Time Again is just an absolute banger of a song. One of my favorites. Absolutely adore. You know, it's perfectly utilized in the movie. Like it just gets you pumped.
I'm loving how passionate you are about
Man,
it.
I love this movie.
I would say that the opening montage was very cool. I did enjoy that. I thought that was good fun.
On the acting side, most of the cast, and throughout Scooby-Doo, you see actors kind of take on these roles and they'll portray them over multiple projects. So this was actually a lot of actors' first times in their roles. Frank Welker obviously played Fred pretty much for the entire franchise's history. BJ Ward is Velma, so this was her first go of that. She played that role for about 10 years. Scott Ians is Scooby-Doo. I think throughout most of the early direct-to-DVD movies played Scooby and went on to play Shaggy in the next movie as well. Mary Kay Bergman had a 3-movie run as Daphne. For me, when I hear Daphne's voice, that's the voice that I hear. And then Billy West actually plays Shaggy, so this was his only time in that role, so you might recognize him as Fry from Futurama.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as Shaggy. So I think across the board, the cast was great.
I mean, they sounded like Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Team to me. Do you know what I mean? I didn't at any point think, oh, that's not the voices I remember or anything like that.
How was the actual mystery for you? Because obviously me, I haven't seen this movie in 20 years, but I remembered every scene. I remembered almost every line of dialogue because I watched it so much. Where did you think it was going? Who did you suspect?
It lays it on very thick that the gardener bloke is somehow involved, doesn't it? Thinking of your traditional Scooby-Doo, I kind of expected that it might be him in some way. The transition to kind of were creatures totally threw it. I wasn't expecting that element of it. So I quite enjoyed that. That was a bit different. It felt new.
I just think the twist that the zombies are, I suppose, the good guys, but some of them are pirates that killed loads of people.
Yeah, raped and pillaged. But apart from that, they're all right
Yeah.
guys. Do you know what I mean? I thought the zombie twist was great, that they were actually there trying to help them and things like that. And I did enjoy the element, mind, where spooky things were happening and they were trying to figure it out. Do you know what I mean? They were trying to disprove it, as it were. Look, there's always a mirror. It was almost a bit tongue-in-cheek against the previous cartoons. Do you know what I mean? Or there's always a man with a mask, always a mirror here, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think the scene where they have the zombie and they're trying to take the mask off and the head pops off, oh my god, it's real, was so well done, you know?
If you're a hard, fast Scooby-Doo fan, that's a bit of a sudden shock for you, because I don't think you've seen things like that in previous Scooby-Doo episodes or movies, have you? That they literally rip the guy's head off. You know?
Oh no, this was much more visceral than the franchise had ever gotten before. And if you look at modern Scooby-Doo, it's like sanitized in the way that cartoons kind of are now, which I think is really unfortunate, because I love that. This, I think, teeters towards a kind of, your 11, 12-year-olds.
This does reinforce, I mean, we've talked before about some of our favourite franchises. You've got Scooby-Doo, I've got, things like Ghostbusters, and that they are very much designed for a younger audience. But I'd love them to just go to hell with it and do an adult version. Give us like a Scooby-Doo that's a proper horror. Or give us a Ghostbusters that's a proper ghost story, you know?
I want nothing more in this world, man. And it doesn't even need to be R-rated, but just a Scooby-Doo thing for adults.
Yeah.
Where it's actually kind of scary and go for it, man.
I mean, I would argue Monsters Unleashed was pretty good, mate. That's a movie as an adult I can still enjoy, but it's not a scary movie, do you know what I mean? But it's a fun movie. I would rather watch that, James.
We'll get to it at some point, I'm sure. You know what? I think this, in terms of humor, was a lot more like Looney Tunesy than I remembered it being, the peppers thing, where they're eating them and their faces go all red and the fire comes out and stuff, and like there's a bit where Scooby's mimicking an owl and he twists his head. It's like I didn't remember any of that stuff happening, but I think as an adult you're a bit like, oh, okay, we've seen this a million times, but like there is some really funny moments. I like that Scooby hates cats, like we never seen that before, but he's just like can't control himself around them.
So again, I don't remember the law, as it were, but has he ever acted like a proper dog like that before? Because that's a typical doggy type thing to do.
I had this in trivia, but I'll just whip it out here now. This is the first time.
Don't whip it out. Don't whip it up, Jeans. I've seen it enough.
This is the first time Scooby-Doo shows any aggression towards any other animal. In all previous series, he's kind and friendly towards not only cats, but others such as mice, gophers, chicks, etc. I love that Shaggy's luggage is 5 pairs of the same t-shirt and trousers.
I'll give you that. That was very good. I liked that gag.
I thought that was great. I thought this was a funny moment, but also I think ties into the twist at the end, but where they're trying to get across quicksand and the zombie hands Shaggy the rope.
Yeah.
So it's like it's supposed to be that kind of gag where the kind of chase scene is dropped stopped for a second, but like it actually, they were trying to help them the whole time. So
What is it with quicksand? But because I remember when I was a young man watching all the black and white stories, quicksand was frigging everywhere. I kind of, as a young man, expected quicksand to be more of a danger to us in adult life than it actually has turned out to be. Do you know what I mean?
all you gotta do is lie down.
Well,
You just lie on your
swim,
back
don't
and
you?
your
You
feet will
just
come out
swim
of it. Yeah.
But I was expecting, as I got older, on my way to work, there'd be pools of quicksand everywhere, but you don't see any of it really in Newcastle.
Anytime you go to the beach,
Yeah,
stay away from
people
this section.
sinking
Yeah,
left,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
and centre, but nah, bollocks all.
A couple other like moments I really like when Scooby and Shaggy are drinking water and the zombies come out of the lake like from the bottom. I thought that was really cool. I didn't really get why there is zombies though. Is it just like they're vengeful spirits and is a curse? What's causing that element?
Because obviously this is set in New Orleans, isn't it? Which is kind of synonymous with kind of, voodoo and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's how I was leaning towards the bad guys being kind of shamans or something like that. And they'd raised the zombies. So to suddenly jump to cat worship and cat people was a bit left field, It feels like if you set it in New Orleans, you're going to get some kind of voodoo kind of story.
I mean, there is voodoo dolls in this that work,
Yes,
and
yeah,
magic wax is referenced. And I think that's a really creepy kind of thing, like an oh shit thing to have in it. So I thought that was great. But I love how Velma turns that on them where they pick up a piece of their clothing and make voodoo dolls of them. I thought that was a great way to kind of win the day, A little bit of trivia about the movie, Peter. Snakebite Scruggs is played by Mark Hamill,
Yeah, I saw that. Wouldn't have recognised his voice, mind.
while Simone, the leader of the Werecats, is played by Adrienne Barbeau, so from The Fog. Stevie Wayne, love her. This film marks the first time someone besides Casey Kasem voices Shaggy, reason being Kasem refused to provide the voice of Shaggy if he would not be vegetarian like himself, and Shaggy eats crayfish in the movie.
It was a little bit gross, wasn't it? I mean, they like literally went mental for it.
They got some sucking power there, man.
Yeah.
Like,
You dirty dog. It was a little bit, I don't know, it just felt a bit weird, if I'm being honest.
Another good joke gag, I think, was Scooby keeps like eating Shaggy's half of the food,
Yeah.
like sucking his sandwiches out
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, it was good. I also think like having them as airport security was funny. Like, they're just gonna raid the fucking pantry, the contraband.
Yeah, that was a good gag at the start.
So the future of this franchise, this began a 4-movie run from Mook Animation. The Witch's Ghost came out the following year, so that's kind of a Salem witch trial. It's very much in line with this, like the darkness of it. Set it in like this kind of Massachusetts town, like a Salem witch trials kind of thing. Tim Curry plays one of the supporting characters in it. Great. I would put that very close to this. Alien Invasion then was like a kind of a X-Files sort of take, like the kind of sci-fi. I
think I've seen that one.
Horror. And then Cyber Chase, where they get sucked into a video game, and that's kind of the lighter, the kind of dark horse of that run, not everybody's a fan. But this like revitalized Scooby-Doo, this began a yearly direct-to-video, direct-to-DVD movie release schedule. So we've had literally at least one, if not 2 Scooby-Doo movies every year since. Insane output, I think.
And this got a sequel, didn't it? Didn't this get a direct sequel?
There was Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island, which sort of I tried watching it a few months ago and I got maybe 40 minutes in and it started like saying, oh well, what happened last time might have been this gas and it actually didn't happen and all this stuff, and I just found it really disrespectful and just kind of a cheap cash grab, like nostalgia based, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's unfortunate. And then on television, What's New Scooby-Doo followed very soon, and we've had multiple iterations of the television series since then as well. So yeah, I think Scooby-Doo wouldn't be held in the same kind of regard it is now, or as popular as it is now, without this movie. Like, we wouldn't have got the live action movies without this, at least in the way we did. And just for me, I just adore this, man. I fucking love Scooby-Doo. Like, I just love it with all my heart. You should have seen like the biggest grin on my face watching this movie. Like, every scene to be a line of dialogue that come back to me, and it's just like, I just love it, man.
That's because you're about 12, right? That's where you're at?
In my heart, I am.
In your brain,
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, do you know what? It was okay. It was good. I'm going to give you a good. That's the best I'm going to give. It was good. If you're a Scooby-Doo fan, I can understand why you liked it. There was elements I really enjoyed, but at its heart, it was, for me, an extended episode of Scooby-Doo. It doesn't stand up to the live-action movies for me. But that might just be because I didn't watch this when I was younger, so I'm coming at it fresh as a much older gentleman.
Yeah, as an old man, what does an old
Mature.
man... That's what I'm going to title this. What does an old man think
mature,
of Scooby-Doo?
Developed, intelligent person. Yeah. Whereas you loved it.
Of course, yeah, I'm emotionally stunted, physically stunted. What can you do? Moment of truth. Moment of truth though, Peter. Is this better than Willy's Wonderland?
Of course it's fucking not. No, this is tremendous. Imagine Willy's Wonderland, but at the end where Nicolas Cage, again naked, takes his face off and he's actually Shaggy or someone.
That'd be great. I can imagine Nicolas Cage being in a Scooby-Doo thing as like a guest star, like in like Guess Who Scooby-Doo or something like that.
He would be your old man Winters or whatever, wouldn't he? He would be the theme park kind of person. I can hear him now. I would have I would have gotten away with it. Yeah, he would be a tremendous bad guy.
I would rather watch the credits for this movie than watch Willy's Wonderland again. again.
Yeah,
So
you're
I think
full of shit. You're a
yeah,
dick.
and this movie doesn't need Nick Cage. Frankly, I think it's perfect as is. So
Bullshit.
and that's I'll be right back on Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. We will probably come back to some more Scooby-Doo stuff down the road. I'd really love to do live action movies. Velma, I think, would be an interesting conversation. Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, I'd like to do as well. So, yeah, if you want to see that, let us know. We'll have some more Scooby-Doo content in the future. Don't forget to check out the channel where we do One Good Scare live every second Friday. And we'll be right back next time with...
What is that?
It's okay, there's nothing here. I haven't heard a dog bark or a car pass. Nothing.
Why are you doing this to us?
Because you were home.
Never, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.